And many thanks to my good old friend, Professor Chaturvedi. And my sincere thanks to the HKU Philosophy Department for making this happen. So it is my honor to present to you this interesting topic on the political philosophy of the Zhuangzi and the opening of a feminist political space. Hopefully, it is interesting for you. Uh, all right, I will just begin my talk. This suddenly doesn't work. Let me see. Like that. What happened? I'll just use. Huh? This, where did you? Oh, okay. All right. Let's begin. When the springs dry up, the fish have to cluster together on the shore, blowing on each other to keep damp and spitting on each other to stay wet. But that is no match for forgetting all about one another in the rivers and lakes. So, 相濡以沫不若相忘于江湖, right? So this well-known story in the inner chapters of the Zhuangzi is often quoted nowadays by lovers when they bid each other goodbye. However, obviously, that is not what Zhuangzi intended to show his readers in the first place. Come on, please. It's difficult to find this classroom, I suppose. It's okay. I prefer to perhaps this. So we're just introducing this famous passage in the 大宗师 in the inner chapters of the Zhuangzi. Now, so with this short story, Zhuangzi pictures what an ideal society is like and the alienated situation of the social members when it's lost. Let's see, the fish swimming freely about in the rivers and lakes is a symbol of a good society, wherein the Tao is kept in the world, and people are happy, free, and at ease like fish in the water. In contrast, the dry spring refers to the state in which the Tao is lost, people are harmed, and their lives are endangered. So they might want to care for each other, but their end is doomed. So what do you think the water refer to? What does the water mean here? Any idea? Anybody want to try? Yeah, the fish. Right, exactly. It refers to the Tao. That's my reading. You know, in which the people's original nature is well kept in the Tao, right? So that's like water for us. Naturally, these questions will arise. So, what does keeping the Tao in the world mean? How is a world with the Tao being kept in it? Right? So Zhuangzi believes that good governance must be able to preserve people's original nature. So how is the original nature of humans? Now, what is a good way to govern a state according to the Zhuangzi? And how is human nature distorted? Is it possible? Oh, there we go. In a bad political regime, right? So I explore these interesting questions in this essay and try to illuminate its significance. I mean, Zhuangzi's political philosophy towards the opening of a feminist political space. In the first part, I deal with the alienation of humans in the Zhuangzi. And the second part is about the original nature of the Zhuangzi. The third part, I work on what constitutes good governance for the Zhuangzi. So in the end, I want to illustrate the significance of Zhuangzi's political philosophy to the opening of a feminist political space. So the first part, alienation, Zhuangzi's critique of patriarchal ideology. Zhuangzi maintains that an ideal society must be able to keep the spontaneous nature of its members. So it is called in the Zhuangzi the original nature or the original heart mind, right? 性或者是心本性或者是本心。Now, when this is accomplished, we can say that the Tao is kept in the world. As Zhuangzi stated, here, fish feel at ease with each other in the water, and people are at ease with each other in the Tao. For those who are comfortable in the water, you just need to chisel a pool. Those who are at ease with one another in the Tao simply do nothing, and their life or nature is settled. So 鱼相造乎水，人相造乎道。相造乎水者，传其而养己；相造乎道者，无事而生定。Now I have to remind you that these sentences are usually wrongly translated. The word here, 相造, can be very confusing. It is 相视, simply meaning feeling comfortable with each other. Yeah, so Chen Guoying believes the sheng or life here implies nature or xing. As we can see, the two characters sheng and xing are similar. Xing, nature, was later on developed from sheng or life. So let's just look at Zhuangzi's description of alienation in the whole school's chapter. So this is in the Ma Ti. Right here are the horses able to tramp over frost and snow. With the hooves, they have to keep out the wind and cold with their coats, chomping the grass, drinking the waters, prancing, jumping over the terrain. This is the genuine inborn nature of horses. Even if you are given fancy races and great horse, they would have no use for them. Right, so we can see here horses refer to the people. Okay. Then along comes Bo Le saying, I'm good at managing horses. So who is Bo Le? He proceeds to brand them, shave them, clip them, bridle them, feather them with proper martingale, pin them in stale and stall until about a quarter of the horses have dropped dead. Then he starves them, catches them, trots them, gallops them, lines them up neck to neck or nose to tail, tormenting them with bait and ring in front and with whip and spur behind. By then, over half of the horses have dropped dead. So, needless to say, the horses that are branded, bridled, fettered, starved, tormented, and whipped refer to the people that are disciplined and harnessed under the patriarchal rule. Bo Le refers to the rulers, my reading, who have seized power and believe they know how to rule. The tools used to tame the horses refer to the ideologies and social institutions to enslave the people. Another, I mean, Zhuangzi's political critique targeted the 仁义 narratives, 仁义礼乐系统, right? It's a Taoist target. Established ever since the Yellow Emperor, advocated by Confucians and Mohists. Actually, many different schools at that time advocated this 仁义礼乐 system. Of course, I have to point out that neither Confucians nor Mohists should be simply viewed as the advocates of the Zhou dynasty ideology. Right, so I will give further clarification later. Another important insight of Zhuangzi is that alienation of human nature is not only an individual issue, rather it always happens systematically. Now, by alienation, I mean the distortion and mutilation of the original nature, which is taken as human nature by Zhuangzi. That is to say, human alienation is not like depression. Someone feels upset about the world and is depressed, which is viewed as a psychological problem of the individual. On the contrary, Zhuangzi would say that depression too has its social context. Now, I think this is a good topic for us to delve into how all social members are distorted under an oppressive regime, a valuable topic for political philosophy. This is from chapter Web Tools. 偏母。Sorry. Now, as we can see here, Zhuangzi gives us a picture of alienation throughout the whole patriarchal society, including the commoners. Where is the commoners? The petty man, right? 小人, at that time means the commoners. And the literati, the nobleman, and the king, which is the sage here, sage king, right? 圣王 is a fixed saying of that time. All under the heaven are alienated. Now, so in the second paragraph, Bo Yi died in pursuit of fame. Robert Zhi died in pursuit of profits. They died for different things, but they were alike in damaging their lives and harming their inborn natures. Now, this can be difficult to grasp for many of us because the robber Zhi was a robber, right? His inborn nature must have been distorted. But in what sense, like Zhuangzi is saying, of course, this is Zhuangzi, he must say this, Bo Yi, viewed as a sage, his inborn nature was also distorted. Right? All under the heaven have been alienated. Now, we might wonder what Zhuangzi's critique of Ren Nan Yi system means. Usually translated as benevolence and appropriateness. humanist sometimes. Should not the rulers be benevolent to the people then? What does that mean? I mean, some people would wonder. Now, Zhuangzi's view is that the rulers should not rule over the people at all. We must understand that Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi do not deny that a good society, a good government should be compassionate to the people, or else Lao Tzu's advocacy of compassion would be incomprehensible. Now, their critique targeted the Ren and Yi and ritual music system as the dominant ideology of patriarchy. Now, in fact, the construction of the ideology of Ren and Yi began since the Yellow Emperor. If you read some of the excavated texts, such as Wu Ji, right, Qinghua Wu Ji, you will see that it really began very early. Now, later, different schools inherited the ideology of the Zhou dynasty to speak of benevolence and appropriateness. Now, it seems we did not have this unique yet crucial perspective on Zhuangzi's philosophy, i.e. to view Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi's critique as one of patriarchal dominance. Before feminism became full-fledged worldwide, henceforth, a common misunderstanding of Lao Tzu and Zhuangzi's philosophy is that they are against all civilizations, right? I'm sure you heard about this, that Taoism is against civilizations. As if only patriarchy deserves to be called civilization, and a society free of domination and oppression is necessarily uncivilized. Now, this understanding of civilization is a symptom of being alienated. In my opinion, feminism precisely offers an important perspective on Zhuangzi's philosophy, in which his critique of patriarchal domination is no longer hastily equated with opposition to civilization. Now, rather, it is motivated by aspiration for a world of complete equality and freedom, grounded in the feminine principle. According to the Zhuangzi, good politics should follow the feminine principle and eliminate oppression altogether. I'll talk about this later. So I have no time for the second part. I'll just go directly to the third part. What constitutes a good government? Now, Taoists do not believe that ruling a state can lead to a good society. Ruling the world, 治天下, right? So according to Zhuangzi, is doomed to cause its decline. This, of course, follows Lao Tzu's idea of non-action and spontaneity, 无为自然. So, what are the connotations of the governance of non-action, 无为之治, right? It can be very difficult for people to understand 无为之治. Usually, people would, on hearing these words, people would say, oh, doing nothing. Right? It's quite a common understanding of it. And also sometimes it is understood as the liberal principle of non-interference. However, both of these understandings are not accurate. Now, Lao Tzu compares good politics to water. Which benefits all the merry things, but does not dominate them, nor contend with them for profit. This is from a chapter of 道德经, 上善若水, 水善利万物而不争. 万物 here, the mere things, refers to the people. This is a fixed use in the Laozi. Now, water benefiting the mere things is certainly not doing nothing. But the way it does it is through non-action. So non-action, when it comes to political philosophy, it simply means non-domination. Now just imagine a government that centers on controlling the people, brainwashing them with ideologies, punishing them, and prosecuting those who don't follow their rule. Also, this would be called 有为, right? 为, 人为, 有为, as against 无为, non-action. So, non-action just means non-domination. It is the opposite of constructing ideology to rule, to control, to spy on the people, specialty for our time. Laozi has left us with manifestations of good politics, such as, so will not be at loss, right? So, such as compassion, simplicity, not daring to take the lead in the state. Here simply means a leader of a state should not put him or herself first. 慈俭不敢为天下先. The sage has three treasures. Right? Not too many decrees restricting the people or tossing them around, punishing them, a small state with a small population, and so on. For example, now, if there is a person who commits murder, let's say, what would the governance of non-action be like? Does it let the criminal get away with murder? Now, obviously, this is not what Laozi meant, right? Now, Laozi first asks us to see the fact that a bad political system creates a population that is compelled to do bad things. A good political system, on the contrary, keeps the population from having to commit crimes or being driven to suicide. In which I think Bhutan can serve as a good example. They have a minimum crime rates. In a time everybody else is seeking GNP, GDP. They seek gross national happiness, right? They want their people to be happy. Just imagine that. Right. So, not to mention some matrilineal tribes around the world. I'll come back to the matrilineal parts later on. Now, take another example of the environmental crisis that is now threatening the survival of humankind. Now, does non-action mean that we should do nothing about it and wait for the demise of the Homo sapiens? Obviously, this is a slur on Wu Wei. The measures that should be taken are obvious. The problem from a Taoist perspective is that power in our time does not know how to function anymore. Now today, politicians around the world seem to be excessively interested in enriching themselves and are largely known to cooperating with each other to address the environmental crisis. This shocking fact that puts our species and the earth in extreme danger is a good example of Laozi's critique of ruling the people. Next, let's look at the ideal society in the Zhuangzi. This is also from the whole schools, Ma Qi. As we can see, all creatures live together, birds and bees multiplying, grasses and trees, grown thick and hampered. People live together with the birds and bees bound together with all things. So there is certainly, I think, there is an egalitarianism of species in the Zhuangzi. Um, and also, of course, um, the inborn nature of the people was realized. Okay. It's the Chinese. Now, Zhuangzi advocated the equality of all beings, and his ideal political system embodied this principle. Not only was there complete equality amongst people, 就是 what was that one? 乌虎之君子小人. You know, he does not, he does not approve the distinguishment between 君子小人, which means political position at that time. So, but also it promoted the prosperity of all things. Now, Zhuangzi abandoned the enlightened sage, sage king in Laozi's philosophy. He took a step further and gave us a communitarian world in which there is only a community between people. There is not only a community between the people, but also a great community composed of humans, nature, and the myriad things. So I think this resonates with Aldo Leopold in his famous book called A San County Almanac. So he raised a land ethic, an ethic that enlarges the boundaries of the community to include soils, waters, plants, and animals, all collectively the land. It is a beautiful book. Also a classic for ecology. Now, the Taoist political reflection is hard to grasp within the patriarchal context. Next, I will illustrate the matter with the Mosul matrilineal tribes. Now, the ideal world in the early Taoist minds, as indicated in many places in the texts, is an ancient matriarchal civilization. A world where the people know only of their mothers, but not of their fathers. Unlike the male principle of heaven or Tian in the Zhou dynasty, they created the Tao as the mother of all things, established a female principle for the world at the metaphysical level, and advocated that politics, morality, and other social practices be based on it. So last summer, I visited several Mosul villages and gained a deeper understanding of the Taoist concerns. The Mosul tribes constitute China's matrilineal society. I think you all heard about it, the Mosul, right? Located Yes, yes. Located in deep in the mountains in Sichuan, Yunnan provinces. I'll show you some pictures. They believe in Tibetan Buddhism. This is statue of a goddess in some of the temples I visited there. It's called Jixiang Tianmu, auspicious Heavenly Mother. This is the Lugu Lake area, Luguhu area, if you heard about it. It's a lot like Hawaii. Now, the Mosul society maintains a kind of semi-communism, which I prefer to call communitarianism, in which property is jointly owned by the members of the matrilineal family, and the whole village help each other with farm work. Now, a common misunderstanding about more so matrilineal society is that, females dominate now. Right, but it is really not like that. When I was there is no domination. They ama, which means they are head of the family. She does not own the property. The property belongs to every member of the family. And of course, there is no marriage. It is called walking marriage, 走婚. This is a ceremony I went to there. It was beautiful. They sang beautiful songs. Look, the girl is ready. The boy is going to climb to her place to meet her. So in the evening, the man may go to the house of the woman he likes with her consent, and he has to return to his family to work before breakfast. So the children are raised together by the matrilineal family. Also, this ama. Oh, I can't play this here. Okay. This ama is making a traditional piece of cloth. She's super nice. This guy is a Daba. Daba is a religious leader in their culture. One village can have many Dabas. Interestingly, Daba Jiao is the religion that they believe in, the matrilineal religion. The Dabas are all males. I think that's quite interesting. Some wildflowers. That looks familiar. So, oh, there. I think the fascinating world of the Grand Union, where is that? That part. Here, the 大同世界, right? In the 礼记, he talks about it's quite famous. 老有所终，壮有所用，幼有所长。金瓜孤独废疾者，皆有所养. Last quote here. I think it is easily realized in this society. Every member of the matriarchal society, whether old, young, sick, or disabled, is taken care of. It is a beautiful society, of course, that Li Ji gave us. However, it has never been and will never be realized in patriarchy. Yet it is easily realized in a matrilineal society. It is worth mentioning that most of society also demonstrates a high degree of ecological awareness. Now, I do not think that we should go back to the matrilineal society, which also has its limitations. However, I do think it is a good elucidation of Taoist political philosophy. Now, meanwhile, clearly there are many resources that we can draw on, which are important references for us to reflect our patriarchal politics. So here we come to the last part, the opening of the feminist political space. Now, not long ago, I read a story about a woman in Shanghai who opened a store, a bookstore that only sells books by female writers. Now, this news inspired me, actually. A bookstore that only sells women's books does not signify a gesture of resistance traditionally valued by feminism. Of course, there is no doubt that resistance plays an essential um, role in changing the status quo and promoting social justice. But it goes further than resistance by constructing a different kind of space in a demeanor of care and concern, in which the ideas we pursue are embodied, that is to say, they are actualized in a physical space. This is what I mean by a feminist political space, a term I use to denote a different expression of power. A feminist power space wherein power is not understood in the traditional sense of political domination, but as a realization of the feminist ideas of freedom and equality for all. Now, in the following, I will illustrate this feminist political space from the theoretical aspect. Despite the critiques of Simone de Beauvoir by different feminist schools these days, of course, I have found that some of the essential problems Beauvoir pointed out are still not solved. In fact, they are not even clearly felt in our time. They're only silently pushed aside while the public's attention is directed towards different places. So I'll just focus on female solidarity. Beauvoir noticed that in patriarchy, women are segregated by different social institutions such as family and marriage, and also race and class. Let's look at this paragraph in the second sex. So if they, meaning women, belong to the bourgeoisie, they feel solidarity with men of that class, but not with proletarian women. If they are white, their allegiance is to white men, not to Negro women. Male and female stand opposed within a primordial midsum. And woman has not broken it. The couple is a fundamental unity with its two halves riveted together, and the cleavage of society along the line of sex is impossible. Here is to be found the basic trait of woman. She's the other, in a totality of which the two components are necessary to one another. As we can see here, Beauvoir is lamenting that women tend to identify themselves with men of their class and race, right? Not with women. And yet, when she associates or identifies herself this way, she does not realize that she is still the other in this association. Another paragraph by Simone de Beauvoir, the same text, second sex. Women, therefore, have never composed a separate group. So in the beginning, she was talking about males always form groups to secure power. However, it seems women have never composed a separate group set up on its own account over against the male grouping. They have never entered into a direct and autonomous relation with the men. The reciprocal bond, she's quoting Levi-Strauss here, basic to marriage is not set up between men and women, but between men and men by means of women who are only the principal occasion for it. Of course, this is quite some common knowledge to many these days. Now, surprisingly, what Beauvoir worried about has not fundamentally changed, I think, to this day, despite the overall progress worldwide. Now, men are united when it comes to the field of power, at least, I think, while women still stay in a divided, segregated, and atomic state. There is not a strong sense of solidarity among them. Women have not formed a strong awareness to join together to create a space of female power against patriarchal domination. Now, I think this is the most puzzling and disconcerting phenomenon in the history of women's enslavement over thousands of years. Uh, should we then admit that this is where women have failed the most? For it is only by joining together that strength is consolidated. By separating from and fighting each other, they each suffer the fate of being enslaved. A particular form of extreme oppression endured by women can last for unbelievably long periods, such as the thousand-year history of food banning for Chinese women. It lasted for 1,000 years. Had there been a generation of resolute resistance in that 1,000 years, even to the extreme of collective suicides, it would have been a fatal blow to the patriarchal dynasties. And the time that Chinese women had to endure such extreme cruelty would have been greatly shortened. But there was no collective resistance heard of in 1,000 years. In 1,000 years, almost all Chinese women endured a lifetime of torture in silence. What is political is always personal. This is why the opening of feminist power spaces is necessary. And individual success cannot be compared to what collective unity can achieve. As Beauvoir suggests, the success of Catherine the Great may have had little effect on the Russian peasant woman. Now, this is the Catherine the Great. These days, there's a soap opera about her, right? I think so. um, During Empress Wu Zetian's reign, the status of women in China was more or less improved. Here's Wu Zetian. We all love her in China. Yet one woman's ascension to the pinnacle of power can't change the basic structure of patriarchal dynasties. This is why female solidarity, I think, is far more important than the success of individual women. Only when women unite through the establishment and proliferation of women's organizations and the opening of feminist power spaces can patriarchal society be systematically transformed. Until they unite, a woman does not know her power. Until women unite, according to Beauvoir, they cannot enter a free relationship with men either. Now, I agree with Catherine McKinney that instead of wasting our energy in searching for sameness or difference with men, we should penetrate the essence of dominance of patriarchy. What I'd like to point out is that in the past, the feminist analysis of power have focused on criticizing patriarchy. It is now time to go further and seek to create a feminist power space. Obviously, this space does not belong only to women, but of course to men as well. It belongs to all those who seek the realization of equality and freedom. It is a space that should unite all those who share the same ideals in order to realize a different kind of power space. I do not understand a feminist political space as how power functions in patriarchal politics. Rather, a feminist political space must open a new politics, a new value system. For example, opening a bookstore selling books by female writers, setting up an online film discussion group to promote the awareness of gender equity, or a feminist group to meet up regularly, and so on. Pretty much anything that one can create within one's capability. These are things at hand, and the popular imagination is boundless. Of course, since I'm using the term a feminist political space, it also includes the accomplishment of feminist principles in the political arena. Oh, so now, today, women are to a large extent liberated from the patriarchal family life. She is the same as men part of the labor force. But it seems that women's influence at the power level is minimal. Feminists have pointed out that men set the rules by which society operates, while women have not developed their own principles or value system different from men's. In my opinion, our time needs to understand that the masculine way of thinking that has dominated most cultures for thousands of years is wrong. Conquer, invasion, exploitation, oppression, enslavement, and so on and so forth. It is this underlying masculine logic that has pushed humankind to the brink of extinction. Whether it is in politics, economy, technology, or loving relationships, patriarchal power has perfected its unrelenting destruction. Our time needs an awakening to the significance of women's values. So in the end, I will list a few principles that a feminist political space follows, inspired by Taoist political philosophy and the illustration of Mosul society. It is difficult at this point to imagine, how is feminist politics like when it's fully developed. But I think there are still principles that we need to follow. So first, creativity as life-giving and life-nurturing. Now, in our time, it is believed that creativity has nothing to do with nature. Often it is identified with the destruction of nature. This understanding of creativity is fatal to humanity itself, in which violence towards humans and nature is inevitable. According to Taoism, our original nature can only be preserved in nature. Talking about creativity in isolation from nature is ludicrous. And like a rootless tree, a political space to realize the creativity that nourishes life is called for. So second, feminist political space seeks the settling and the realization of our nature and the nature of all beings. I'm using Zhuangzi's language here. Third, the equality and freedom of all beings free from dominance or hierarchical oppression. Fourth, the great community of humankind and the earth and all beings should be formed. The communitarian democracy should be realized to replace the exploitative capitalist democracy. The Greek community makes effort to take care of each member. The human must understand a good society takes care of its members instead of exploiting them. It seems it's very difficult to understand this point for patriarchy. Fifth, in the end, feminist politics advocates non-action and spontaneity as a new way of life. Now, personally, so 无为自然. I do not hold the illusion that high technology can save us from the environmental crisis. It is difficult to become it is not difficult to become disillusioned if one pays attention to what high technology is all about these days. Green technology certainly needs to be developed. However, in a time when our food, clothing, housing, transportation have all become pollutants of the earth, if humankind believes that it can avoid the fate of extinction without changing its modern way of living, the result is likely to be that it will soon face that fate. Humans must recognize the value of a simple way of life. Now, politics and economy that cause the destruction of nature and thus threatens the survival of humans cannot be called progress. By the same token, politics and economy of non-action and spontaneity, 无为自然, should also not be blindly seen as regression. So a feminist political space is committed to making our planet a beautiful home to all beings. Thank you. Okay, I'm required to say something.